Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our regularly scheduled school board meeting. This evening, I want to call on our vice chair because she has a sad piece of news to share with us. And followed by that, I'm going to ask if Ms. Stephanie Brooks would lead us in the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. But now, Vice Chair Dr. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Our at least bereavement for several of our faculty members, but we're not going to be able to call, but we really call all of their names, but we really wanted to highlight one of our retired educator. She was a member of the union, worked very hard, a member of Sigma Gamma Rho. She taught at Mid-Florida Tech, Washington Shores, Jones High, and she did over 40 years of teaching, and they buried her on Saturday. Her name is Catherine Riley Wade, a great educator from Winter Garden, Florida, and Oakland. So she will be well remembered by the Ola Vista staff. They cherished and loved her. And then I would like to thank Chair Jacobs and Superintendent Jenkins and her wonderful staff, that we were really, really just shocked and heartbroken to hear of the loss of Tiffany Thomas, who passed away last month in October. She had been with the district for 17 years. She was a music teacher at Memorial Middle School and will dearly be missed by all of us who knew her. And if you were ever in any of her performance, your heart was never the same. The Florida Classic is next week. These students have performed there year after year, and they have electrified the Bethune-Cookman, Fairview, Evans High School, Jones High School choir, and have just taken over the show. Our thoughts and prayers are with her family and her friends as they go through this extremely difficult time. Thank you, board members, for your prayers and support of this family. We thank Dr. Jenkins' staff for accompanying the family in the manner and the students at that school in the shock and loss of Ms. Tiffany Thomas. Thank you, Chair Jacobs.
Thank you. If you come forward. Ms. Brooks, thank you.
Would everyone please stand and bow your heads for a moment of silence? And now for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Ms. Brooks, before you step away, let me take a moment to introduce you and explain to our audience why we have asked you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence. Ms. Brooks was named the 2019-2020 Florida Literacy Elementary Coach of the Year by the Florida Literacy Coach Association earlier this month.
Yes.
She began her teaching career at OCPS in 1996 she is so good at what she does, obviously. But it's because of her love of teaching and her love of our kids. I love that Ms. Brooks doesn't mind me sharing her response when asked about the recognition, but it's so touching that I wanted to share it with you. She said, "I'm just a guide assisting teachers navigate the ELA standards, understand how to work with struggling students, and to assist students with using their experiences as a source of strength towards becoming even more resilient. It's the teachers and students who allow me to be a part of their journey who motivate me every day." Ms. Brooks, thank you for what you do every day, and thank you for being such a role model to everyone in the public education system, because that's really what it's all about. It's about understanding how to help our kids use their life experiences, but the tough ones, the easy ones, all of them, to make them more resilient and help them turn into the best people that they can be. And then helping all of our teachers understand what they're capable of. So God bless you and thank you. Thanks for making us proud, but more important, thanks for what you help do in the classroom every day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And next we have a series of recognitions, but before we do that, I want to check and see if we have our Wekiva High School students here yet. Do we have them? All right. So I was bragging right before this meeting started for anyone who is here for pre-agenda that the school board and the staff that staffed these meetings was going to have a special treat tonight, and that was dinner being catered and served by the Wekiva High School Academy for Culinary Arts. And here's the team who provide our outstanding dinner.
Come on in. Come on in. Squishing.
Squishing everybody. Rollins College. Did somebody sneeze? Was that picture? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss
All right, before they get too far out of the room, stop, kids. I'm sorry, young people, you're not kids. Forgive me. My 33-year-old son is still a kid to me. But I wanted to stop you for just a minute because I also want to share with you. I did not know this. They do catering, and so what was that? What was that red? Tapenade that was so delicious that we had a couple of board members who were trying to figure out how to sneak it out. One of them successfully snuck it out, and she's proud of herself. So we kept asking, we kept saying, gosh, they really should bottle this stuff. They should sell this stuff. Well, guess what? They do. So if you live in the Apopka area, or for that matter, if you live in Central Florida, or if you've ever visited the state of Florida, while you're here, I would suggest that you drop by and pick up some of their incredible jarred Promesco. It was outstanding. And their salmon was to die for, and I hope my husband is not watching this tonight because it was spot on, perfectly done each time, and that's not an easy thing to do. The salad, the dessert, yeah, anyway. And I think the best part of it was, and I'm going to call him Member Bird, but the best part of it was when we walked in, we all felt like we were in an elegant dining environment. We also, a couple of us felt like it was time we need to put our heads down and pray for a minute, because you don't sit at a proper table like that without having a moment of grace and thanking God for the wonderful people and food that bless our lives every day. So thank you for enriching our life today, not only in how you served us and the food that you gave us, but just in making us so proud of each and every one of you. Let me call on your school board member, Melissa Bird.
Thank you. I'm just so excited that my fellow board members finally got to try your delicious food. And I think they all agree that I was right all those times that I said you guys were amazing. It was really wonderful. Thank you so much for coming out tonight and sharing your talents with us. It was, as the chair said, a fine dining equality. It was just wonderful. And they also bottle their own hot sauce, which is really good. I have a bottle of it in my office. I'll show you. It's called Mustang Heat. So congratulations, and Chef Bates and Chef June, thank you so much for what you're doing for these kids. You're showing them a pathway and that will be valuable for them for the rest of their lives. So thank you for that. Really, we appreciate you.
All right. Pardon me? That's incredible, huh? Okay, we also, I mentioned we have some special guests with us tonight. I want to introduce and welcome the Dean of the Holt School at Rollins College, Robert Sanders, and some of the outstanding OCPS paraprofessionals who support our classrooms every day. Tonight, we'd like to recognize you for your commitment to the para-to-teacher pipeline. this partnership has allowed a pathway for our paraprofessionals to earn a bachelor's degree in education with reading and ESOL endorsements that upon graduation will allow them to move from being a paraprofessional to assisting in the classroom and running and managing their own classrooms. And this is really important and exciting to those of us who sit up here that worry every day about making sure that we have great teachers coming into the classroom, as well as we worry every day about maintaining and retaining the great teachers that give up so much of their time, their talent, and their energy to make our students the best that they can be. So this is just a really exciting opportunity for the paras, but it's much more exciting, frankly, for us because we know the profound difference you're going to have in the lives of so many people. Mr. Sanders, if you could please join us at the podium to tell us a little bit more about this partnership.
I want to thank you for having us today, and I appreciate the time. I'll keep my comments brief, but just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Rob Sanders. I am the Dean of the Hamilton Holt School at Rollins College. I think you all know the reputation of Rollins. It's been around for quite a long time. The Hamilton Holt School, though, is Rollins's outreach to adult learners, like the learners that we have here that have joined us. We have been around for 60 years. We're actually celebrating our 60th anniversary. And what the Holt School does is it provides access to Rollins and the quality education that we believe we provide at Rollins to those who might not otherwise be able to access that Rollins experience. We offer classes predominantly at night when they're available to working adults. We are very flexible and responsive to the needs of adult learners and offer a very personalized approach to serving those unique and specific needs. So I came actually at the same time they started. I'm new to Rollins. I started July 1, and so just a couple of months or a month really before this fine group of individuals started in the OCPS Pathways program. We have 14 students who are participating in this program, and these are paraprofessionals, as was mentioned, who are earning a bachelor's degree in education, who want to take on the responsibility of being classroom teachers in their own classrooms. We have been offering a series of 5-week classes, and so in a given semester they can actually take 3 classes, which makes them full-time students and makes them eligible for other types of grants and scholarships. And I'm proud to say that we're able to do this with primarily full-time tenure-track faculty at Rollins, and we do complement the faculty with some expert adjunct faculty that we have, but it's predominantly full-time. With that said, I'd like to introduce my esteemed colleague, Dr. Jim McLaughlin, and who's going to assist us in celebrating our students.
Thank you very much. I was a school teacher for 9.5 years in another state. I've been a professor for more than 30 years. I've had many opportunities to work with students at various levels. And I told them this, I embarrassed them, but I told them this after I taught the first 5-week course this fall. This was the best teaching experience I have ever had, ever. And there are specific reasons for that. One is the motivation and the excitement and the enthusiasm of these people. Every one of them came every night. The classes were 3.5 hours twice a week. That's daunting. They have children. They have full-time jobs. They have other things to do in life. They also did all the work, and there was a lot of work to do. But the most important thing was the group camaraderie and the group bonding. The last night I brought a cake, and we had some things to drink, non-alcoholic, I might add. And several wonderful things happened. This is just indicative of the kind of people they are and how important they are to us at Rollins College and to you in Orange County. One of them got up extemporaneously and gave an inspirational speech. And he essentially said, "We are all in this together. We began together 5 weeks ago. We will finish together in 2021. We will do this. Dwayne Dickens, right there. That's the man.
Yay.
And other faculty members got up and also gave stirring testimonials, both to the nature of the course and the quality of the experiences they had had, but also to the paths that lay before them. So I'm excited about this group. I'm trying to figure out a way to get back to teach them again. I'm not supposed to teach them again, but I'm trying to figure out a way to get back there. We're planning all sorts of things together in the future. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of Orange County Public Schools. It is because of your support that this is happening. So thank you very much to Orange County. Thank you to you all sitting out there, because you're the reason that this will succeed. You are the trailblazers for all of this. We will do this with other cohorts as well. Mm-hmm. Do I have a chance to read their names?
Absolutely. Please do. As you read their names, stand up and take a spot up here. Would you please?
Yes. Jaquavius Arnold. Lake Weston Elementary School. Joanne David, Eccleston Elementary School. Paula Delgado, Discovery Middle School. Mr. Dwayne Dickens, Memorial Middle School. Maribel Doe, Cypress Creek High School. Sita Maharaj, Cypress Creek High School. Melissa McCann, Catalina Elementary School. Natasha McPhee, Eagles Nest Elementary School. Taylor Montoya, Englewood Elementary School. Elta Roche, Robbinswood Middle School. Nancy Suggs, Pine Lock Elementary School. Jabnell Villafon, Weingard Elementary School. And Kerta Viksama, West Oaks Elementary School. That's great. Photograph now. There's going to be a
Just the awarding.
Is it a photograph? Or are we doing a photograph? Okay, good. All right, good.
Great, good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Great partnership.
Okay.
He's the baby.
Thank you so much. What was your name, Adam? McLaughlin. Thank you. Great job. Oh, awesome. McLaughlin. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to introduce Dr. Deb Wellman, who is the chair of the department, who
Yes.
also deserves some recognition.
Okay, I got to tell you what you have started. What a great partnership. Let me just say that. But the culture that you've developed in this short period of time coming together, Dr. McLaughlin, thank you for your leadership. To all the students, the parents that are participating, hang on to that culture and keep that alive, because that is our goal here in Orange County. We are in this together, all of us, every one of us, whether we're talking about our teachers, our coaches, whether we're talking about the board, whether we're talking about our auxiliary staff. Every part of Orange County Public Schools, indirectly or directly, changes lives every day. And that's really important stuff. And that's why we got to hang tight together. We're in it together. We're in it to the end. And we've got to remember through our tough times that we are still a team, and we are all marching for the same goal, and that's our students. And sometimes we are marching against things, and that is sometimes not enough funding, and making sure that you get the respect and the pay that you deserve to stay in this career. So God bless you for the choices that you've made. Thank you for the culture you've already created. Hang on to that, spread that. If we could clone you, we'd love to do that. But if we can't clone you, we'll keep working with Rollins, and we'll just bring more and more to the table. Thank you so much. And now let me recognize our vice chair for a few words. And then Dr. Jenkins.
Yes, thank you so very much, Madam Chair. I really want Dr. Wellman, too, to stand up. Dr. Wellman. Just come on up, Dr. Wellman. Now, don't you all get angry. Please don't get angry. But it's a poor frog that does not praise its own pond. I would like Dr. Jenkins and Dr. Bridget Williams to please come and stand with Dr. Wellman, Dr. McLaughlin, and Dean Ron Sanders. Will you just come up, please?
Dr. Jenkins?
Yes, and not. I want Dr. Jenkins, and please don't you all get angry, but I am so sorry. This is something that we have dreamed about for years, and this is really Dr. Jenkins' dream, the board telling her, grow your own. Nobody knew that it was going to come out this great. And then when Dr. Bridget Williams and Dr. Jenkins called us and told us how they grew their own, I could not believe it. Dr. Bridget Williams, do you have the list of District 5? Can you get that list? Do you have the District 5 list? Yes, had Dr. Bridget Williams. Yes, Dr. Bridget Williams, I'm sorry. This is just personal privilege. I don't need it. I want you to call them up. District 5, and I'm going to tell you why. For District 5 to have this many in this program, and we didn't have anybody, and they had the meetings here. You came in groves. You were so excited. Then I see you all went. I think that's the President House, isn't it? I can't let him outdo me. I'm going to find a mansion for you all to go and visit. All right? I want you to know, Rollins made this commitment. They have dedicated themselves. I'm going to ask Dr. Bridget Williams, please call the names. Dr. Bridget Williams in the microphone. In the microphone over there. And the reason why I'm doing this, she got a sore foot, bless her heart.
Yes, she did.
I know she had surgery, and she know I work her to death. This is, Dr. Jenkins gave her this and her entire staff that worked with her to put this together. Now, I don't mean any harm, but these are teachers, and they are soon to be teachers. These are paraprofessionals that thought it not robbery, along with all the others, the 14 total. So the 14, I'm going to brag you once I ask your board member, they'll let me do that. These ladies and gentlemen, they came to work in a struggling district. Do y'all don't understand? It's easy to work in the school where the kids already know. But it's bad when they on level 1 or level 2. And you got to work yourself to death. So Dr. Bridget Williams, will you call those names, please?
Sure. Joanne David, Ethelson Elementary School.
Okay, Dr. Jenkins designed these cones, and it is a coin that everybody loves.
It is a keepsake momentum. We change it out, but we want you to know how much we love you, Ms. Davis. Thank you so much.
Dwayne Dickens Memorial Middle School.
Look at that. They working in the struggling school, people.
Melissa McCain Catalina Elementary School.
Come on.
Natasha McPhee Eagles Nest Elementary School. Elta Robbinswood Middle School.
You can do it. You can do it.
Nancy Suggs Pine Lock Elementary School. And Kertha West Oaks Elementary School.
All right. Didn't I just tell you? All right, and I do need this picture for my history. So District 5, this is history.
I can't walk back with this.
Doc, all the doctors, y'all come right along. Come on, there you go. All right, you all will see this group again. They'll be back in February. They'll be back in February. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. And Rollins. Let's give Rollins another round of applause.
All right, we have also two proclamations. We are celebrating a proclamation for 11/15/2019.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, Dr. Jenkins. I wondered if you still wanted to speak.
I almost
I'm
forgot
so
what I
sorry.
was going to say.
I'm certain you probably did. I wasn't going to put you on the spot. That was 15 minutes ago.
But then I remembered. I wanted to tell the audience the photos you saw were actually at President Grant Cornwall's home. He hosted the teachers. He and his wife hosted them at the president's residence at Rollins, and the school also gave them $1,000 apiece because he didn't want them to be missing out on any supplies or materials, and could not be here tonight. I saw him this past week at another event. He told me he had a conflict tonight, but I wanted certainly to recognize both the president and his wife for hosting our wonderful future teachers as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now on to proclamations. We are proclaiming November 11/15/2019 as Red National School Psychology Week in Orange County Public Schools. And we have several people here to celebrate that with us. We have school psychologist Carol Walls, Nicole Matthews, who will read the proclamation. And also we have with us Reverend Edward Torres, and I believe Mr. Pollard is also here for, if I'm not mistaken, for this same proclamation. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, school board members, Superintendent Jenkins, and staff for this opportunity to speak on behalf of Orange County school psychologists and present this proclamation tonight. My name is Kara Walls, and I'm a proud school psychologist. We are graduate trained professionals in the areas of learning, behavior, and mental health. Therefore, we can provide support to students to succeed academically, socially, behaviorally, and emotionally. Every day, our school psychologists support students by working with children individually, leading social emotional groups of students, consulting with teachers, planning with school administrators, and connecting with OCPS families. We are student services team members who work at every Orange County school, and our mission is to support the whole child. We do this under the guidance of supportive administration and you, our school board. Thank you for recognizing our hardworking professionals this week. Allow me to introduce fellow lead school psychologist Nicole Matthews to read the proclamation for School Psychology Awareness Week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's the proclamation of National School Psychology Week. whereas all children and youth learn best when they are healthy, supported, and receive an education that helps to develop their individual strengths, and whereas schools can more effectively ensure that all students are able to learn and are invested in their learning when they meet the needs of the whole child, and whereas children's learning and behavior are directly linked to their mental health, the learning environment provides an optimal context to promote good mental health. And whereas sound psychological practices are integral to instruction and learning, social and emotional development, prevention and early intervention, and supporting cultural diverse student populations. And whereas school psychology has over 60 years of well-established, widely recognized, and highly effective practice and standards that are clearly articulated in the NASP model for comprehensive and integrated school psychological services. And whereas school psychologists are specially trained to deliver a continuum of mental health services and academic supports that lower barriers to teaching and learning. And whereas school psychologists facilitate collaboration that helps parents and educators identify and reduce risk factors, promote productive factors, create safe schools, and access community resources. And whereas school psychologists are trained to assess student and school-based barriers to learning, utilize data-based decision-making, implement research-driven prevention and intervention strategies, evaluate outcomes, and improve accountability. And whereas the National Association of School Psychologists establishes and maintains high standards for training, practice, and school psychologist credentialing in collaboration with organizations such as the American Psychological Association that promote effective and ethical services by school psychologists to children, families, and schools. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Orange County Public Schools does hereby recognize November 11th through November 15th, 2019 as National School Psychology Awareness Week. Okay, thank you.
And I think we perhaps have one more speaker. Do we have a Reverend Edward Torres? Welcome, Mr. Torres.
Thank you so much. It's been a while since I've been to the school board meetings. A lot of things have happened on my end, and I'm loving the winning side that I'm on. But I think you guys should take this week to reflect on yourselves as school board members and the psychological effect on your children, on our children, with your discretionary authority to implement curriculums and student activities. The psychological effect on a child with evolution as the only truth over intelligent design is a path to mass shootings. I hope you take this time to reflect on what you have done with not mandating a moment of silence in the schools, taking all hope from our children, that we have a God here in Florida that answers prayer. The American Psychological Association began studies back in 2013 to encompass and explore a number of new topics such as meditation, forgiveness, acceptance, gratitude, and love, all having deep roots in our Western and religious values and traditions. The display "In God We Trust" has been mandated by the governor and signed into law by the Florida House, HB 7055. I wonder if you bother to even implement that. A moment of silence will help our children psychologically, and you have the opportunity to implement that student activity. I've told you years ago that it was all legal for you to have a moment of silence, but you sent a lawyer on me to tell me that it was legal, and you use your discretionary authority not to implement it. So let all the people know that. And secondly, it was just passed into law we just had a bill that went through the Senate, and now it's with the House for the Bible curriculum in the high schools as an elective. Come on, people. This is Florida. We have a flag that says "In God We Trust," and it is a psychological harm on our children, telling them that there is none in your public schools. We have 21st century education that tells you intelligent design is a fact. So let's bring our children up to the 21st education and stop using your religion to torture our children. Thank you.
right, thank you. Can I ask our two presenters on the proclamation if you have a minute to come up and the board just wants to recognize and thank you for your support here today. No, I mean, come on up so we can thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. I thought that third speaker was going to be celebrating the importance of psychologists in our schools. Huh? How many psychologists do we have in the audience today? Oh my gosh, stand up. Woo! Well, I know it wasn't always that way, but we are sure glad you're there today. I also wanted to take a minute before we go into our next proclamation. I wanted to ask Ms. Stephanie Brooks if you would come up just so we can thank you as well for the great job you've done. And we're so very proud of you. So we have celebrated a coach who's made a statewide award. We've celebrated our paras who are doing phenomenal work, and not only in our schools today, but what they're going to do in the future, and the contribution and relationship with Rollins College. And we've celebrated our psychologists. The next group we want to celebrate is a group that hardly ever gets any attention. And sometimes that's a good thing. They're behind the scenes. But we know that what they do every day matters tremendously. And there's so many other people in this organization besides the teachers you think of and the principals and the guidance counselors. There's so many other people behind the scenes that never get the glory and never get the credit, but they impact our kids' lives. They touch our kids' lives in a very real way, and they make things work. And so with that, I want to take a minute to call up our president of OESPA, Ron Pollard, and support person of the year, Magali Davis, Robbinswood Attendance Records Clerk, to read the proclamation for November 20th, 2019 as National Education Support Professionals Day in Orange County Public Schools. And then we're going to tune in right after this proclamation. Before you step away, we're going to tune in to just take a quick glimpse at what some of those paraprofessionals are doing. Some of our support personnel are doing that you might not be aware of. Mr. Pollard. Down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Proclamation National Education Support Professionals Day. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality for all. And whereas education support professionals are integral to education process, and whereas education support professionals provide a safe and healthy learning environment for students, and whereas education support professionals work tirelessly to serve our students and communities with care or professionalism. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Orange County Public Schools does hereby proclaim November 20th, 2019, National Education Support Professionals Day. Thank you.
Don't go nowhere. All right. I don't want you to go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Do I need to give my address?
No, sir, you do not need to give your address right now.
1869 Emerald Boulevard. Anyway, to Dr. Jenkins and Chairperson, Chairwoman Jacobs, and Vice Chair Ms. Gordon, and to all the school board members, I just want to thank you for this proclamation of recognition for our ESPs, who are education support professionals. We're known as classified workers, but that's what we are. We're education support professionals. But it's an even greater honor me to stand beside our current support person of the year, Ms. Magalie Davis. And I got to say this. Before I met her, I heard about her from some coworkers and how she helped them and would try to translate and just going outside of her job to do. And I just want to say she is an example of that support staff that even though they're not readily seen, they make sure these schools run and they run smoothly. So I want to thank you, Ms. Davis. Thank you for what you do. And as a matter of fact, can I have all the ESPs in the room? Please stand. I would really like to thank you all, because this recognition is, even though I'm talking, it's for all of us. We make sure those kids are safe. We make sure those kids are comfortable. We make sure it's done. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Pollard.
much.
Before you step away, let's just take a minute to see what some of our educational support staff in video services are doing right now.
Can't believe you made me do this.
All right. All right. That might look like fun to you, but I want you to know their job is to try to make us look good. Huh. That's not an easy job. So come on forward so we can thank you.
Come on. No, you coming.
Yeah. All right. Some people watching us are probably wondering if we ever do any work around here. Do we just celebrate all day long? But yes, every couple of weeks when we come together as a board, we spend about an hour celebrating, and it's an hour that's overdue every single time we come together. Let me also mention that there is a mom in the audience with a little one, a little boy, who is being good as gold. I didn't even know he was here. I just discovered him when I was standing up. Yes, young man, I'm talking about you. Great job, Mom. Okay, we do not have a strategic plan. I blew it for you probably, right? It's all my, if it goes down from here, it's all my fault. I will take complete ownership of it, I promise. Strategic plan update, we have none. And in terms of newly appointed administrators, none to recognize. We have no public comment speakers that have been presented. If there's anyone who does wish to speak, now would be the time to speak, or forever hold your peace. Okay, good. Then I will skip the long speech about all the things that you can and can't talk about and move on. We have no public hearings. Dr. Jenkins, adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda?
3 changes, Madam Chair, members of the board. Item 1703, request approval of the Orange County Classroom Teachers Association contract for the 2019-20 school year. 1704, Orange Education Support Professional Association contract for the 2019-20 school year, and 1705, approval of the 2019-20 salary increases, benefit costs, and revised salary structures for school-based administrators, technical staff, executive management, food service managers, and so on. Those items, if you refresh, will be added to your consent agenda, 1703, 04, and 05.
Thank you. So Chair finds cause to amend the consent agenda. Is there a motion to amend the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion by Member Gould, a second by Vice Chair. All in favor of amending the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The consent agenda, I'm sorry. Pardon me? Okay, we've amended the consent agenda. We haven't voted on the consent agenda, and I think we have a couple of speakers. I said, speak now or forever hold your peace, and boy, did they move fast. So I apologize. We do have a couple of speakers. Is that what you were trying to signal to me, Mr. Howitt? Oh. Oh, that's what they were doing this. Yeah, I wasn't picking up. Oh, yes, the lady with the very well-behaved little boy can go now. And so can everybody else who doesn't want to stay around with us for the rest of the evening. Okay? You're welcome to stay, but you're welcome to go. Okay? Thank you.
We advise you to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can listen in the car.
Bye. I love you. Okay? Leader. Be a leader. Yes. From the heart. Yes.
Thank you for making me feel comfortable.
Do it. All right.
And we always got your back.
Miss Davis, God bless you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Magdalene, yeah. Y'all spent that money yet? Y'all spent the money.
I'm sorry. Now I understand. Can you pass me that other day? Thank you. I don't know. I'm like apparently dyslexic today when it comes to body sign language. That was clear. I just couldn't figure it out. Okay. I know. It was very, very clear. Okay. We have a couple of speakers, I see. So right now I have Miss Dormal and okay, Ms. Dormal, whenever you're ready. And we have not voted on the consent agenda, just for the record. We have voted to amend the consent agenda. No, come on up. Yes.
Does she want to speak before or after?
Ms. Dormal, did you want to speak before or after we vote?
After.
I'm sorry. That's perfectly fine. I just assumed when everybody started running when we got to the consent agenda that I better slow down. Do we have anybody who wants to speak to the consent agenda before we vote on it? Possibly.
Non-consent.
Non-consent?
Okay. So you can go on with the,
Okay. So we have no speaker cards on the consent agenda. All right, then with that, is there a motion to, hang on a second. We barely do. What happened?
1, 2, 3. We have a quorum. We have a quorum and an extra vote from the chair.
I don't know. I didn't even realize they left.
Let's move your meeting. Don't worry about it.
All right.
That's your quorum.
Yeah, I'm just,
I heard the door. They're coming back. They might have gone.
all right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? If not, I'll move it.
So moved.
Okay, I'm sorry. We have a motion from Member Castor-Dendel. We have a second from Vice Chair, and I know you were going to. I just didn't want to pause too long. We are on the consent agenda. Member Lopez, we have a motion from Member Castor-Dendel. We have a second from Vice Chair, and we have almost a full house back on the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with all members present voting in the affirmative. Let the record flow show that Member Lopez, Member Cobert had to excuse herself for a moment. And with that, we're going to move on. But before we move on, let's take first Ms. Dormal, and then I had a few comments I wanted to share on the decision of the board. Ms. Dormal?
Hello. I just wanted to speak about our agreement. We signed our tentative agreement and one-year deal, and we consider it a victory for every member of our bargaining unit. This agreement shows that when our members speak with one voice, we have strength and power at the bargaining table. And our CTA board recommends a yes vote to the members of our bargaining unit. Our members stood up and spoke loudly and clearly, and this deal represents our victory as one of the biggest salary increases in recent history. And the members' victory on planning time being restored for you and our students your victory on regaining dignity and respect, to your working conditions. Our unity is our strength, and you showed that our union is strong. We must continue to make progress to increase Florida's average teacher pay from the bottom 10 nationally to the top 10. And CTA will be arranging for buses to go to Tallahassee on January 13th, and we invite each and every one of you to join us on that bus. And we hope that we can get our message to fund our future for students, teachers, and public education. And we also hope that maybe you will consider making that day a teacher work day and student holiday so that every student and teacher who wants to support that effort can go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dorrell. Also, we have Amy. Amy, you're going to have to help me with your last name. Schwandes. That's what it looked like. Yes.
You know, I think the same, but
Welcome,
it doesn't.
Schwandes.
I go by Mrs. Very in my classroom because it's just way easier. I teach physics. I teach high school physics. I also teach AP physics with calculus. And I have 3 preps. And it's a lot of work. So I really support having the additional planning time in the contract because it makes a difference as to whether I can give meaningful feedback to my students. This year is my first year teaching 3 preps, and I'm having a time balancing everything because I'm also still attending UCF in the physics program there. So there's a lot going on, and I just don't, every time I feel like I've got an extra hour to catch up, there's another meeting. And so I'm really looking forward to having the time to give my students the meaningful feedback that they need so that they can be successful in the AP exams that they're going to take, in the common final exam that they're going to take, so that they can be successful mastering the content, not just being exposed to it. So I wanted to say I'm in favor and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to take a moment before we move on because I want to recognize just a couple of things I think are important to keep in mind with this. It is an extraordinary increase compared to what you're seeing around, certainly around the region. This board has been actively engaged in continuing to work with the legislature. Several of us were up this past week. We're excited to hear the governor talk about raising starting salaries and minimum salaries, but I think it's important for everyone to know that as excited as we are about that, we also understand the concern about compression, and it's extremely important to us and to most of the members of the legislature that we've talked to, encouragingly understand that our teachers that have been in the classroom for years, our teachers that are mentoring and coaching other teachers, need to see that same appreciation and respect in terms of pay. And so we heard encouraging feedback, but of course that always comes down to the legislature finding the money, which brings me to the second thing that is really important when the board discussed this proposal. And I want to recognize the superintendent for her leadership because she had committed that. Let me start with the board made this a top priority. Salaries was our #1 priority, but we heard the feedback on the reserve fund, the unassigned portion of the fund balance, and we brought that down, but we tried to give that in the form of a bonus. And as you'll recall, that we understand why teachers want raises they can count on, salary, not bonuses. The superintendent came back with a proposal that took that fund balance, and for the first year, that supplements us from the 4% we had offered to the 5.5%. But what does that do after that? Because once you use that fund balance and you draw it down, it doesn't replenish itself. So that's where the heavy lifting comes in. And that's where the board made a commitment that we believe the legislature is going to come through on additional funding next year. And we've committed up front 1.5% of unrestricted revenues that come to us that we can use for salaries. That will fill in that difference between the 4% and 5%. So we banked on that. And we have also committed that if that doesn't happen, that this board will have to find a way to cut that 1.5% out of operating because we will deliver on 5.5%. That is a given. But it was a unique approach, And it was an approach that the board, the superintendent, all of us felt was an important offer to put across the table, but not without consequences. And that consequence is that next year, that first 1.5% that we get from the legislature is already committed to the salaries. Hopefully, we get a lot more than 1.5%. But we'll have to wait and see. And it's important, I think, for us to communicate openly and honestly with all of our teachers about this process and the hard work that the board has done in making sure that we have the funding available next year and for future years. With a little luck and with more continued effort of unity for higher pay, hopefully we'll be looking at significantly higher raises in the coming year if we get that money from the legislature. Let me turn now to our Vice Chair, Member Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is really a tough year for this board, and even with the superintendent. I've only been at this table once when we can rejoice when the bargaining teams got together and brought in a proposal. I do want to say tonight that I am very impressed with the leadership of the CTA team and those teachers that are not paid, that have worked that bargaining team late evening, late nights. I am very impressed with the team that our superintendent put together. If you've never worked on a bargaining team, I suggest you work on it. And if not, you are allowed as a teacher to sit in on most of the sessions. I want you to know that it is not an easy task. I do believe what made it a little bit easier, because it was a collaborative bargaining session. It's one of the toughest that I've seen. Normally in collaborative, you could just throw it out and do with it. But this one looked as if it went collective, then collaborative, collective. But it doesn't matter. You are in a right-to-work state. And a lot of people don't understand that. And a lot of teachers are not members of the union. A lot of parents are not members of the union. But your voice is the union. That is who this board has to listen to. So both bargaining teams must collaboratively work together. I did hear the president of the union say unity is their strength. I want to say unity is our strength, because there is no unity if there's no agreement. You have brought to us tonight. We would love to sit up here and what you bring us, when you say this is what we want and we agreed on it, and when the Dr. Jenkins team, which represents this board, said this is what we want and we've agreed on it, that's a shouting time. And we've done that in this board area more than once, where we shouted, not because of the amount of money we're receiving, but because of their joy that we collaborated together and at least settle on the little bit that we have, and that everybody could get a piece of the pie. As they stated tonight, Mr. Pollard, it's no way in the world. I'm a teacher. And when I left my school this afternoon, I emptied my garbage can, because I knew that one of the janitors, we have 3, but one of the custodial staff was absent. And our principal said, if you could help, just gather it up and put it outside the door. A group of us not only gathered it up, but we took it to the canister. That's a team. We all worked together. I couldn't teach if that salmon we ate tonight was in that trash can when I come back in the morning. So everybody needs each other. We are the bargaining teams. There's only 2. And the victory is in the strength of both teams. We don't know how much cussing you do behind the scene. I know, because I've been on both teams. I do know that you have to bring a school board in the state of Florida a collaborative effort that this is what you settle on. It may not always make you happy, but you really should be rejoicing, because I'm proud of the leadership of both of the teams, because it's not an easy task. So to Mr. Presser, will you just stand? And to Wendy Dormo, will you just stand? I want you all to know, and this board talked about it, that is not a little feat that you did. It may not be what everybody wanted, but this board, I'm speaking, and I know because we've talked about it in session, we salute you for bringing us a plan that we can approve. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Member Gould.
I just wanted to address about the trip to Tallahassee. It was a very worthwhile trip last week that we took. I felt that we had some opportunity to communicate, and I applaud CTA for the buses, and I'll do my best to be on one. But there's some lessons that I learned that I would like to share, and I won't call out any particular representatives that I had discussions with, but there's some confusion about the budget process and the cost of living. And I think that is something that we really need to fully educate our representatives on, that we are not keeping up with the cost of living, especially in Central Florida, in those wages. And it is the state's responsibility to ensure that anyone who works under any entity that is funded through the state, that we provide a living wage and a good career for our staff members. And that was something else. I had one representative who, again, I will not name, but said, well, they often have two household incomes, so, you know, they're not suffering that much. And so there's a little work to be done with some of our representatives up there. So I just wanted to share that, so that as you go up, you can really target your messages. And I would go armed with the Alice report from Central Florida, United Way does, because it has a lot of good statistics in it.
Member Castrodeno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to share my thoughts on the teacher engagement in this process. It makes a difference when the teachers show up. I know they're tired. I know they're exhausted. I know they're busy, but having them in this room makes a difference in what we decide. Seeing their reaction to our discussions, and then also hearing from them with emails or phone calls, or just, you know, when we are walking around our neighborhoods or in the grocery store. Participating and sharing your experiences is how we will know what decisions to make. So I appreciate the enormous teacher engagement in this deliberative process. And I also want to share my thoughts on when we went to Tallahassee last week. We met with so many representatives and senators and other people involved in the process, staff members, and they were open to listening, and some of them seemed like some of the information we were sharing with them about the reality of being a teacher in Florida was kind of new to them. They knew it, but no one had really ever spoken with them about it. So I want to encourage the teachers to continue to reach out to legislators. It's easy to do. You can email them. You can call and leave a message. You can go visit when they're in their office. You can also go to Tallahassee. But just to share what it's like to teach with all of their expectations and all of the money that they're not giving, and just share that reality. It helps them make better decisions. And I know people asked, what are you all doing, board members, to get more money? Well, we went up there. We will be going back again. We will continue to take that message. But we want to invite the teachers and staff to echo our concerns, because that's the only kind of pressure we can exert on our elected officials. So, thank you.
Thank you, Member Castrodano. Member Castrodano, let me speak to one thing you just said. Because I do think that teachers' voices in Tallahassee will make a huge difference. But I also know, even from our experience, when we're up there, there's debates about what the facts are. And as long as, and this is true of all bodies of government, as long as one body of government really believes it's not their responsibility, or they don't have that control, somebody else is at fault, you're going to get the runaround. And so it is really, really important to go as informed as possible, because we found it. We found that there were members of the legislature that didn't realize that some of the things that people complain about are in the laws that they've created, or that somebody before them created. So I would say work together on your platform and make sure that if it's about over-testing, that you can point to, yeah, this is in the statute, so that they don't get the easy way out to say, no, take that up with your board, they're doing that. I'm not saying we don't own some portion of it, but it's really important when you're talking to somebody to know what portion they own, and to talk to that portion, and then to make sure that they know they own it. And don't assume that they do when you go, because sometimes they don't. We here are dealing with one thing, and it's education. In the legislature, they're dealing with so many different things that they may not be as focused. So coming really prepared with your arguments and being able to point to the things you want them to change that they actually control will be much more meaningful. We did that with regard to funding the required local effort. We talked about the capital millage. We showed them what they or their predecessors had voted for and how much it cost us. And the fact that we don't control our total budget. They do. And they tell us how much they'll give us, and they tell us how much we can collect locally, and that's it. And I think for a lot of them, it was kind of surprising, even though that's stuff that happens in Tallahassee. So a little bit of work ahead of time to really hone your message, and to make sure that your message you can clearly deliver, you can point to the legislation, I think will help. And Member Kester-Demel, I was wanting to punt back to you because you've been in the legislature. Your thoughts on that? And then we'll move on to the next thing. But we don't get this chance to talk this freely unless we're sitting in front of a camera anyway.
The legislature is a tricky place. Again, yes, they do have a lot of issues on their plate. Education, when I served for 2 years, I can tell you that I was one of the few informed members of the legislature, just since I had been a teacher. But there was little curiosity about what it was like to be a teacher from anyone else up there, to be frank. And it is, if you're not exerting pressure, you're not going to get very far. So what we can do is show up in numbers and remind them that we're voters. So that's how we use our people power. So.
And people and parents, all those personal stories, everything I just said, if you do nothing more than tell your personal stories, that's impactful. They need to know what it's like to live as a teacher and to try to make ends meet. That's impactful. So go with that story, and then if you want some more details, work with your CTA, with Wendy Dormal and the whole team to really craft that message. And I keep saying it, believe it or not, we are in this together because we have the same end goal, and that's the best we can offer our children, which means that we can't get there without great teachers, and we can't have great teachers if we don't pay them and respect them and appreciate them. So we thank you, and we're going to move on now to the next item on our agenda, which is the election of a vice chair of the Orange County School Board. So I will open the floor to nominations.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
It will be my honor at this particular time to nominate Member Pam Gould.
Okay. Member Gould, you accept the nomination? I do. All right. Do we have any other nominations? We have a second from Member Cobert. Any other nominations? Okay. I would consider nominating Member Cobert, but Member Cobert, I know you have a lot on your plate right this minute. And I'm sure you would not accept it anyway. So with that, I'll close the nominations. All in favor of Member Gould, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And congratulations. Let's move on to request approval of the, switch seats, Okay. Next item, I'm going to recess the regular meeting of the Orange County School Board and call to order a meeting of the Orange County School Board Leasing Corp. The first action item is requesting approval of the minutes of the Orange County School Board Leasing Corporation dated October 22nd, 2019. Is there a motion to accept the minutes? A motion by Member Gould, Vice Chair Gould, seconded by, Member Gould in this hat, and seconded by Member Byrd. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item is the election of officers for the Leasing Corporation. The recommended slate of officers is attached to the agenda, and we need a motion to accept it. In this case, the recommended slate of officers would be myself as chair and Member Gould as vice chair. Is there a motion? A motion? Okay, motion by Vice Chair, seconded by Member Colbert. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we will now adjourn as the Leasing Corp, and we will reconvene as the Orange County School Board. And our next item of business, Dr. Jenkins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. By parliamentarians' instructions, you may approve 1703, 4, and 5 with one vote.
Thank you. So is there a motion to approve 1703, 1704, and 1705?
Madam Chair, I move to approve 1703, 1704, and 1705 with the increase.
All right. That's a motion by the Vice Chair. Is there a second? Second by Member Colbert. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And report from our General Counsel, our Acting General Counsel, Ms. Fernandez.
Nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance earlier because we were a little bit rushed. We wanted to get to the dinner, but any committee chair reports? I do. Okay, I know we have a report from our Vice Chair. Any other on the committees? Okay, Vice Chair, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to you at the same time. Is that right? We'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Well, it's really Pam. Give it to her. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're right. Technically, you're right. Okay. Yeah, it is. Technically, it is. Okay.
Well, that's okay.
First of all, thank
For
you,
this
Madam
last
Chair.
night.
Last night, and Lord, am I happy. Don't think that these are tears of sadness. They're tears of joy. My God, I can hardly contain myself. I'm so happy for Pam, but you know that we all have your back. You know, we all have your back, everybody. I'm not going to read the report, but in the Council of Great City Schools, we had an opportunity to recently attend the conference of the 63rd Annual Council of Great City School Conference. It was held in Louisville, Kentucky. We represented you well. Dr. Jenkins and her unbelievable staff presented several sessions. There were 14 powerful staff members, along with Chair Jacobs and myself, former Vice Chair Kat Gordon, that attended this council, and it was one of the best, well-attended council. We were able, Dr. Jenkins was able to interview some of our keynote speakers on the stage, which was one of the highlights of the entire conference. And they really highlighted her on a national level, which we really are so excited about. The main speaker, we did have Rodney Robinson, the 2019 National Teacher of the Year, spoke to us. There were so many other speakers. The one I think everybody really enjoyed was Valerie Jarrett, former presidential advisor. That really did an excellent, and we were able to get a book signing with her, and thanks to Dr. Jenkins because of her interview personal interview with her, we were able to get pictures. I do want you to know that Dr. Jenkins came back with the top title with the Council of Great City Schools. And in case you don't know what the Council of Great City Schools really is, it's over 75, Dr. Jenkins, if I'm not mistaken, of the largest urban school districts in the nation. So there are school board members and superintendents. We all know each other, and we all communicate with each other constantly. We're always going to meetings together, following up what they're doing, what are some of the best practices that we can bring back to Orange County. I do want to say I did get to everybody's workshop from Orange County Public School except one, and I missed that workshop, and based on what the other board members and the superintendents was saying, I think Dr. Lawson, that might have been one of your staff members, Mr. Bond. Bearden, I missed it because they misprinted his room. But from what I understand, but I would like to find out how we could know what they are doing, because some of the presenters presented some of the best workshops on diversity, you name it. But the package is in BoardDocs. The package is in BoardDocs. I brought back lots of materials dealing with the annual report that Dr. Jenkins had me to ship back. We had a recent performance trend in all of those urban school districts. So we're connecting with the best. All of the research documents were there. The academic key performance indicators and standards were there for us to guide and follow ourselves. And Dr. Jenkins will be entertaining not next year and not the following year, but the Great Council of Great City School will be coming, board members. Now, I'm going to tell you, I will probably not be here for that. That's too many years away. But she will be hosting it, and it will be here in Orlando, and more than likely, hopefully you all will see to it that she is the chair of that council when it comes to Orlando. Now, how do I know?
And you will make an encore performance, right?
No, I'm not coming back to you all. Let me share this. The reason why I'm saying that Dr. Jenkins has been elected Secretary Treasurer of the Council of Great City Schools. So that's powerful because you automatically get to move up. There is a wonderful section that our department did, the school improvement grants. There are so many great things in here. Okay, so that was the Council of Great City Schools, the 14 staff members. I believe, Dr. Jenkins, there were 14. They all presented in session. I know that Chair Jacobs is going to talk because we really had a great time. I like to collect and bring back everything. So all of the trinkets that you see on your table, including the bourbon, yes, I put the bourbon out there. Did I say bourbon? Oh, y'all didn't get bourbon. There was no bourbon at the table. Miss Gordon got her notes mixed up here. I'm reading the wrong notes. So the main thing is that if you didn't get the bourbon, you probably need to see me. All right? I just love it. But I know I brought back the chocolate, and I know I brought back, this is some good stuff here. Okay, so this is going to be in Dallas, and that's to remind you, wait until you read it and see what it says. You got to open it up. I think you're going to enjoy the conference when it comes. I think that you all really need to be, all of us need to be in support next year. I'll be there in Dallas, hopefully. We're supporting Dr. Jenkins and supporting our colleagues. I do want to say very quickly, hats off, while I'm up here giving this report, I had the opportunity, while you all were in Tallahassee, I went and supported all your schools. So they think that I'm their school board member now, okay? I went to the Fame, and Woody Rodriguez's daughter, Grace, was presiding again. Ella Grace tore up the show. She did an awesome job with Sam Lee. These students from Winter Park High, they are superior. But I brought you back the different categories, and if you see your school there, you definitely want to honor them because they won. There were so many parents at the State Librarians Conference, and you really should be proud of your library supervisor, your former library presidents of fame. They did an exceptional job in representing us. It was hosted right here in Orlando, and Mr. Harris Rosen did an excellent job in making us feel good. With the Jim Harbin, it was like an Academy Award. But I don't know if Dr. Jenkins will be able to bring all of those students to, before the board, but you need to see what they did as far as the technology. So I know the digital divide that you really got out, and Daryl Flynn, really spearheaded to make sure this gets there. The Student Media Festival was outstanding, and the State Librarians Conference was outstanding. I enjoyed representing you all, and your children loved me dearly, and I told them that you were trying to fight for them in Tallahassee. So, Madam Chair, that ends my report.
Thank you. Member Castrodano. Whoops. Yes, Member Castrodano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to mention something else that was outstanding, and that is that the town of Eatonville, the Eatonville Town Council, approved the agreement that we put together, and this is a historic moment.
Yes.
So they approved the agreement, and we will be having an RFP going out sometime before February so that we can move forward with what, again, is a historic agreement, and we are going to get this done.
And I want to take a minute to recognize Member Castrodano for getting that done. That is something that you need to take great pride in, and we're all proud of you and proud to have been a part of it, but definitely a great opportunity. Yes, Member Castrodano.
If I may, I want to give that credit to Laura Kelly, who helped put all that agreement together, and she worked hard and long and worked with the mayor and other people to put that together, so she gets the credit.
I think you guys can share it. There's plenty of credit to go around. Okay, Member Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Vice Chair Gordon for the nomination and for the confidence the board has for my taking on the position of Vice Chair. And then I also wanted to go back to one of our earlier speakers, if the time is appropriate now to do that. On the Auto A, I believe they said A, if they pass the AP exams. Is that true across the board, or is that decided at the school? Okay, so the superintendent said the school level. And this is an old conversation that's kind of coming forward on this. My oldest son is going to hate about what I'm about to say, but he often does when I'm at the board table. So when my oldest was in school, he's very smart, but he hated to do homework. And he passed the AP test and got a D in the course because he didn't turn in the homework, but had a comprehensive knowledge of the material. So I am... in learning from that, he was, I can't help it, sorry boys, he was a boy who did not think about the implications because he said, well, I understand it, why do I need to do X, Y, and Z? Because I get it, I know what I'm doing, but you have to do X, Y, and Z. So I don't know that we want to fully mandate a point of view on this or a policy, but I think there does need to be some guideline because not only as a parent, but his comprehension of that, I felt that he should at least get a C because if he passes the AP exam, he shouldn't go with a D on his college transcript. On the flip side of that, he wouldn't have deserved an A by any stretch of the means because he should not get an A for not turning in homework. But it's a fine line. So this has come up since I've been on the board. This is probably the third time. That's why I wanted to know if there had been a policy change. But I'd love to hear what the other board members think about this topic.
Okay, Member Colbert.
Thank you, Chair. So this issue, like other issues, I think that we need to take a look at, but I strongly feel that we need consistency across the district. I think when you're looking at college acceptance, GPAs for many different reasons, you shouldn't have an advantage if you go to Timber Creek versus Wekiva. So I think that grading, like the way we calculate valedictorians or GPA, should be consistent across the district.
Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Member Cobert that we do need a consistent policy. What happens at one school should happen at another school. It shouldn't give children unfair advantages, especially in today's climate of competitiveness with getting into college and GPA being also important. With that said, my daughter took AP classes. And I wish she would have passed more of them because now she's in college and she's taking these classes that if she would have passed the AP test, she wouldn't have had to take, and she's bored. With that being said, AP classes are supposed to be like college classes. So in college classes, there's not a lot. My daughter, as long as my daughter shows up and does well on the test, she gets an A in that class because the majority of the grades is test-based. So if we're trying to prepare kids for college or give them college credit, then shouldn't we treat that class as a true college class? Just my 2 cents.
Member Lopez. And after this, let me suggest that if the board wants to further debate this, we probably want to agenda it for a work session so that we can also have a fuller understanding from the superintendent of the ramifications, why we're doing what we're doing, and a better, fuller understanding, since we're not agendaed for any kind of action right now. But it's a good place to start a conversation. Member Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was an AP teacher. So I have students taking AP Spanish language and AP Spanish literature. Sometimes the students are facing family situations or maybe psychological situations, and sometimes they're not doing well because they are low-income students and have jobs after school, so they cannot keep up with the assignments. And then they study and they go every day, but it's really hard for them to keep up with AP assignments. Most of the time, our students have more than 2 classes of AP. So at the end, they study very, very hard because they know that if they pass the test, they can have the college credit and they can have a better grade. And I think that this is not a competition. This is just to benefit our students. I think that benefiting them by rewarding the hard work at the end, maybe they did not do well during the school year. My son, the same way Pamko was explaining about her son, he hated the assignments because he was very into music. And he was very gifted in music, but AP classes, but during tests, they did really well. Say, oh my God, he's still in honor classes. Yes, because he did well in the test. So we have to think about this. It's a very delicate situation, and I understand that we have to be consistent. But sometimes we have different areas, different needs in our students, low-income students versus students that have everything at home. They have a car, they don't have to study, they don't have to work. So they are in very functional families, but we have other students that are in dysfunctional families. So we have to think about that as well. I also want to talk about one of our constituents. We're talking about renaming Stonewall Jackson School. And I was thinking about the survey. I have a question. Who created the survey for Stonewall Jackson? I would like to know who did it. I also want to know if we can review the policy of naming or renaming schools, buildings, and facilities, file FF. In number 3, is saying that existing school buildings or facilities, for requests to rename an existing school, building, or facility, the superintendent shall present the board with the existing name and one alternative name. Input on the alternative name from the school's community stakeholders should be included in the presentation. And that is very clear. But if we have to name a school in number 2, I'm going backwards, it's saying that when naming new schools, buildings, or facilities, the superintendent should present 3 recommended names based upon input from the school's community stakeholder for the board's review. When, I don't know, I was thinking about the definition of renaming, because if I'm gonna rename school board member Gallo, I don't think that she wants to be named Angie Gallo again. Renaming, maybe I'm thinking about what renaming means for this policy, because I don't think if I'm gonna rename Angie, Angie doesn't want to be called Angie again. That's one question. And even when I know that on number 6, we have any input provided or solicited from schools' community stakeholders, including surveys or polls, may be considered as a recommendation to the board, but should not be binding. The final selection and approval of names for schools, buildings, and facilities should be the sole responsibility of the board. But my question is that based on this decision, I know that we're gonna listen to our communities, we're gonna talk to them, I am receiving a lot of emails about this issue, but my question is, because I don't know, remember, I have a question on who did the survey, but did anybody educated the community or the school or the students or the staff members on who used to be Stonewall Jackson? Did they know who really, because during the survey, that name, Jackson Middle School, won the survey. So who created the survey? Did they educate the community in who is Stonewall Jackson? So I have a lot of questions based on that.
So you have a lot of questions. Let's start with a couple that you started with, Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member Lopez, 2 important issues you bring up. One, the notion of renaming versus the same name. 2, the notion of surveying a community. It is not a vote that is binding on the school board. It is clear in policy. Those are simply recommendations to be brought forward. Thirdly, during the time at Jackson, there was a transition in leadership, and so we'll have to gather more information for you regarding how much education was provided during the process. Typically, there is a survey, a case is made at the SAC, and there's a survey, some recommended names that come up, and then they try to survey the entire population. And so I can't tell you how the same name got to be on the document for renaming the school. We'll certainly look into those details for you. But I think the more important issues you raise are around what is an actual renaming and what does the policy say. The policy says it is the board's decision. They may take it into consideration, but it is the board's decision when it comes to naming or renaming a facility. So we'll be happy over the coming weeks to gather more information and share it with the board.
Can we also have the demographics on the survey to every school board member?
Yes.
Great
Thank
question.
you.
Anything else?
I think that the schools deserve to have a name that represents their community.
Right, and I think the one other, if I understood, the one other question was really what kind of conversation was led in the introduction of why are we having this conversation? Because it may be that people go, it's the name that's the name I'm comfortable with. I'm good with that. Was there a real conversation about why are we considering this now? And that might have, as they say, informed the conversation. We can't know. Yeah. Great,
Thank you.
Great questions. Okay, I overlooked, and I am so sorry. I'm going to ask for Mr. Pollard's apologies. He was on, I had 2 speaker cards, but I thought it was just a mistake. He is here also to speak to the contract. Mr. Pollard, can I invite you back up for a minute? Is it too late, sir? Please. Oh, no, my apologies.
All right, I'm back here again. First of all, and I'm not easily offended, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
That's not a big deal. I wanted to, though, commend this board for recognizing the economic, and it was said, several points I wanted to make were already said, but recognizing the need for additional funds for our ESPs who are trying to live in a fastly growing Orlando area. So I really did. I wanted to thank you all, Dr. Jenkins, even for coming back. But before I even recognize anybody, I wanted to recognize your team, Jim Presser and Leanne. I don't know if they left yet or not, but they did. It was truly, it's always truly collaborative. And Ms. Gordon, you said it so well. We've learned to come collaborative. And I also wanted to go on record as saying that I'm in full support of our teachers getting more pay, because unity is what's happening here. And it's not about teachers' pay or ESP pay. It's about public education. We need the strength of public education, no matter how the story is spent. So that's really what I wanted to say up here. And I wanted to thank our teachers. They left, but I wanted to thank our teachers for their hard work. So I said I would be short. That's really it. Thank you again. And I'm going to recommend to my members to ratify this part of the contract also.
Thank you, Mr. Pollard. Let me, before you step away, and we don't get a chance often enough to thank you, it is collaborative not because one side sides, it's collaborative. It's only collaborative when both parties come with that spirit. And you do that consistently.
Thank you.
And one of the things I have really appreciated since I've been here is the fact that our teachers understand the role your team plays and vice versa. And that is very encouraging and I don't know, rewarding to see that everybody understands the value that each brings to the classroom, directly and indirectly. And I also wanted to share with you that spending time in Tallahassee last week with some of my colleagues here, I heard each one of them in each meeting talk about how important the support staff, when they're talking about teachers, that they're not thinking about the rest of the team that makes the schools work, that the bus drivers are the first people that see the kids when they get on and the last people to see those kids when they get off the bus. I heard that from each of the board members that I had the opportunity of spending time with in legislators' office. So I wanted you to know that message is coming from this board loud and clear. So thank you.
Not only am I a union president, I'm a grandfather who keeps passing his daughters
Yes,
through
sir.
OCPS.
Absolutely.
And I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of the education
and
that
our
they
goal is to make them the best they can be.
Thank you very much.
With your help, we're doing it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wanted to add just 2 notes before you closed out tonight. That is, number 1, I believe there's a photo in the back. Dr. Gordon mentioned everything that happened at Council Great City Schools, except that she was a finalist for the Richard R. Green Award. And
How did
certainly,
how did that? You did. Oh, yes. Yes.
so
Oh, my
wanted to share that, and then. And then secondly, the chair and I were pleased to accept another award for Orange County Public Schools. That is from College Board. In fact, this is our 3rd year in a row for the College Board Khan Academy partnership. All 3 years, among all of those 70 large urban districts, we have been the winner in all of the categories. Of course, they would only give us a scholarship for one category because it wouldn't seem fair to give us all 15,000. But this past year, the awards targeted success with getting juniors eligible for College Board Opportunity Scholarships, percentage of juniors who signed up, percentage of juniors who built a college list, and those who practiced at least 6 or more hours on their SAT. Those 6 hours are proven by national research to have a positive impact on SAT scores. And so our students, once again, we won all 3 categories, but we're only issued the award for one. So we brought home a $5,000 check from College Board, and then we will be bringing students who had the largest gains in their SAT scores and hours of practice to a future board meeting to split up those $5,000 among them in scholarship funds. So far, OCPS had 117 students that gained scholarships ranging from $500 to $2,000, which is the most of any district from the College Board Opportunity Scholarships. So very proud of our students. Congratulations again to Dr. Gordon and to Harold Border, Dr. Vasquez, all of those who have helped us earn that College Board recognition.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. So, all right, so let me also chime in that, that if you had been up there with me, ladies, you would have been very proud of our superintendent. We are obviously extremely proud of our vice chair, but you would have been very proud of our superintendent. But you would have also been concerned because she facilitated some panel discussions. She led some panel discussions. Oh my gosh, she led a breakfast with Valerie Jarrett, who was the, what's the title? Special advisor to to President Obama. And so you would have been concerned like I was, because I'm not sure. I think we have to look. We don't have, by the way, a policy committee. I was going to bring that up in a minute. I think we need to look at our policies again and see whether or not we're going to let Dr. Jenkins continue to travel, because they were trying to poach her right and left. It was a little ridiculous, a little frightening, but yeah, but quite a superstar in that environment, so making us all very proud. So, but on a more serious note, what I would like to do is schedule maybe sometime late January, a meeting where we just talk about our governance process, how we're doing, if there's anything that we need to change. A couple of things that come to my mind. I knew we had a conversation about what do we record, what do we televise early on. I didn't realize that we're not recording we're not recording at all the pre-agenda, and I've found a couple of times where I want to go back and listen to what people say, and I can't go back and listen. And when I'm sitting here and I'm taking notes, I don't feel like I'm paying attention. But if I don't take notes, I don't necessarily remember it. So those kinds of conversations, we initially said, let's revisit it in 6 months. We are coming up on a year as a board. So some of those types of conversations, I'll work with the superintendent, see if we can put together an agenda of things to discuss and open it up to any concerns or thoughts that you might have for how we can improve things. One of them was noticing in our policy that we have a policy committee, and we don't have a policy committee. So we could change our policy and not have a policy committee, or we could have a policy committee. But that, I think, came up at one of our FASBA meetings. So, pardon me, huh? Yeah. So we'll work on getting that scheduled. Right now, obviously, we have a very full agenda, completing our planning or training as a board, our master training, and our very deliberative process that we're going to go through in terms of looking at the budget and making sure, while we have one of the lowest, if not the lowest, overhead as far as large urban districts in the state, and that's something to be very proud of, making sure that we're running a lean, mean machine is always going to be important, because we need to make sure our dollars, every dollar goes where it can do the most good. And clearly, as we look at teacher salary, that's going to be, and our all of our salaries. I keep saying teacher salary because I just come from Tallahassee, but our paraprofessionals, our coaches, our support staff, everyone. In order to do that, we need to make sure that we're doing our best with our dollars. And I know the superintendent is very, very frugal about that, and certainly her CFO is as well. And I meant to recognize CFO earlier when we were talking about the CTA contract, because if it hadn't been for the superintendent and her CFO, figure out how could we turn a bonus into an ongoing raise, we wouldn't have gotten there. So thank you, Dale, for your great work on that. Dr. Jenkins, thank you for that. And now I opened up a can of worms because now we have some more speakers. So, Dr. Jenkins, did you have anything further to say? You were done. Member Gould, or no, I'm sorry, Vice Chair. Technically, Vice Chair Gould.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody that Gen Wow is next Tuesday, and I almost let the meeting close without talking about this absolutely amazing experience for our young ladies who come from all high schools. And I hope that if you can't make it all day, you'll come at least for part of the day, because it is a treat for the soul, and you will walk out inspired, rejuvenated, and excited about our future because of what you'll witness there with these young women. So thank you, and thank you to the whole team that has made that happen. And it is a whole team that really, truly makes it happen. And I'm excited for next Tuesday.
So I don't know.
On our calendar, so we didn't
So-
know. I thought you were going to send it to
I said it
everybody's
was
calendar. We didn't get it on.
Well, let's get it out, and let me just let me make a plug for. Member Gould asked me if I would participate in this. She did not tell me that I had to write a letter to myself, my younger self, and I had to do it in 300 words or less. I don't know which was harder, writing the letter or getting it down to 300 words.
They're both hard.
Both very hard, but I would tell you, after going through that process, I would encourage everybody on the board to write a letter to your younger self. It was a really worthwhile experience. So I have no idea the experience itself. It may be a complete disaster, but I know I've learned something just from going through this, and I know it won't be a complete disaster.
No,
but it was really worthwhile. Just that soul searching, thinking of what would you tell yourself. It's a really cool experience.
It is. Miss Fernandez was on that panel last year, and it was an overwhelming sharing moment for everybody in the room.
Okay, so
it's very cool.
We're going to ask Ms. McGill, who I think is still with us, if she'll send out a calendar invite to all the board members, just in case they're able to make it. Member Cobert.
No, not both.
Okay, I bumped you one time. Did I? Who did I bump? I was dyslexic. Member Gallo.
Madam Chair, I just got a text that I hope is correct, and if it is, I just want to say congratulations, because I just heard that Volusia has a new superintendent, and that superintendent is Scott Fretz. So he is one of OCPS's own, and I'm thrilled. We've been rooting for him behind the scenes, so I just wanted to share that, and I just got a text, so again, I hope I'm getting
Good
and
for
delivering
Volusia.
correct information. Yeah.
Yes, congratulations, Volusia. Awesome. All right, on that note, this meeting is now adjourned.
Awesome. That's great.